It was a rainy Thursday morning in Fairfield, Connecticut, the kind of day where the clouds hung low like secrets refusing to rise. The wind crept through the cracks in the old Carson house, carrying with it the scent of wet earth and dying flowers. Emily Carson stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting the collar of her black dress for the third time. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but it wasn't just the grief. It was the questions, heavy and suffocating, that had kept her awake for 3 nights. Her husband, Jonathan Carson, had died suddenly of a heart attack. 42, fit, never smoked. He was the guy who did daily jogs, skipped red meat, and took his vitamins like gospel. None of it made sense. But what made even less sense was the phone call she received 2 days ago, from a number she didn't recognize and a voice that didn't tremble when it said, "I'm sorry for your loss. He was the father of my children too." She hadn't told anyone about the call yet. Not even Rachel, her best friend since college. Especially not Rachel. Downstairs, Sophie was curled up on the couch, watching an old Disney movie with the volume barely audible. She looked so much like John, hazel eyes, that lopsided grin. But today, she sat eerily quiet, clutching her father's favorite hoodie as if it could anchor her to what was left. "Sweetheart, we have to go," Emily whispered, her voice shaking as she knelt beside her daughter. Sophie nodded without looking up, her small fingers tightening around the worn fabric of the hoodie. The church service was as you'd expect, clean white roses, condolences drenched in practiced sorrow, and a slideshow of smiling pictures no one truly knew how to look at. John in graduation robes. John in Cancun with Emily. John holding Sophie in the delivery room. But none of the photos showed what Emily now feared was true, who else he might have been when she wasn't looking. It was during the eulogy, when Pastor Collins read a line about John's unshakable loyalty and devotion to his one and only family, that something inside Emily twisted. The words tasted wrong. Foreign. Like a script handed to the wrong actor. As mourners lined up to offer their condolences, a woman stood alone in the back, holding the hand of a boy no older than 9. Her coat was expensive, camel wool with subtle gold buttons, and her eyes locked onto Emily with something between pity and apology. The boy's face, something about it prickled at the back of Emily's mind. Before she could approach them, the woman turned and walked briskly out the side door, the boy in tow. Rachel appeared beside her, whispering, "Em, you okay? You look pale." I need a moment," Emily said, brushing past her. But when she reached the side door, the hallway was empty. No footsteps. No trace. Just a lingering smell of Chanel perfume. That night, the house felt colder than usual. John's absence had created a void too large for her to fill. Every drawer she opened, every jacket she touched, every voicemail she played was a reminder that he was gone, and yet, not gone enough to stop haunting her thoughts. Around 11 p.m., Emily poured herself a glass of wine and opened John's laptop. She had avoided it until now, almost out of reverence. But the curiosity, or maybe the dread, had finally overpowered her restraint. The screen flickered to life. His password still worked. Sophie08. The desktop was cluttered but familiar. Files labeled Tax 2024, Sophie's Recital, and a folder titled Work Trips. She clicked on it. Inside, dozens of receipts, itineraries, and plane tickets. Routine business travel. Except, her eyes froze on one line. Flight to Atlanta, 4X tickets, summer 2022. For tickets? She double-clicked the PDF and saw the names. Jonathan Carson. And 3 names she didn't recognize. One of them with the last name Reynolds. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She checked the date again. He had told her he was attending a seminar in Chicago that week. She had stayed with her parents. Suddenly, something small but piercing resurfaced from memory. A year ago, while folding laundry, she had found a receipt in John's jeans pocket. Happy Trails Amusement Park, family package 4, dated around the same time. She remembered teasing him about visiting a theme park without her. He had laughed, kissed her forehead, and said, "It was for a client. Their kids were fussy. I had to play babysitter." Now she realized the lie had teeth. Emily's hand trembled as she clicked open the messages folder. Most were mundane. Work exchanges. A few messages with Rachel. Then a conversation labeled M with nothing but encrypted email chains. Except one message wasn't encrypted. You promised we'd tell her. He deserves to know his sister. Emily dropped the glass. It shattered across the hardwood floor. She backed away from the desk, her pulse racing, chest tight. She couldn't breathe. She didn't know what was worse, that her husband had a second family, or that he was planning to tell her. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Sophie was asleep, wasn't she? Emily turned toward the hallway. Someone was in the house. Emily froze in place, her bare feet rooted to the cool hardwood floor, her breath caught mid-gasp. The sound had come from upstairs. But the logical part of her mind fought back. It's Sophie. Just Sophie. Maybe she went to the bathroom. Maybe she heard the glass. She tiptoed toward the staircase, the broken wine glass crunching faintly beneath her heel. Each step she took creaked louder than the last, her ears tuned so sharply she could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen behind her. Sophie, she whispered, her voice shaking. No reply. She climbed the stairs slowly. The hallway stretched out like a tunnel, shadows dancing along the walls from the motion-sensitive nightlight plugged into the outlet. Sophie's bedroom door was slightly ajar. She pushed it open. The soft nightlight illuminated her daughter's small form tangled in pink blankets. Sophie was sound asleep, her chest rising and falling steadily. Emily let out a shaky breath, but even as relief washed over her, another feeling replaced it just as quickly. She wasn't alone. That eerie, undeniable sense of presence, like being watched from just out of frame. A tension in the air that made her skin prickle. Suddenly, a soft creak echoed from the guest bedroom down the hall. Emily turned, every hair on her body standing upright. That room had been closed since John passed. They had no visitors. No reason for anyone to go in there. She hesitated. Logic warred with fear. But she forced herself down the hallway. She grabbed the brass doorknob. Slowly turned it. The door creaked open. Empty. She exhaled sharply, half laughing at herself, half wanting to cry. The window was cracked open slightly. The wind. That had to be it. The breeze must have pushed something, an old floorboard, a frame on the wall. Just her imagination running wild. It had to be. She shut the window tightly and locked it. But as she turned to leave, something caught her eye. A small, yellow sticky note resting on the corner of the bedside table. It was her handwriting. Except she had never written this note. It read, "Check the cedar box." He kept everything. A jolt of cold ran through her spine. The cedar box. John's private memory box, he had called it. He kept it in his office. She'd only seen it once, and that was years ago, when Sophie was a toddler. He said it was filled with his college journals, old family photos, a few keepsakes that were too painful to revisit. Emily practically ran downstairs, heart hammering. She threw open the office door, flicked on the light, and rushed toward the bottom drawer in the bookcase. Her hands shook as she fumbled with the latch. Click. The cedar box sat inside, larger than she remembered. She lifted it out, placed it on the desk, and flipped open the lid. What she saw inside made her knees weaken. At the very top, a stack of children's drawings. But not by Sophie. These were signed, "Love you, Daddy Max." Some were crayon scribbles of a man holding hands with a boy and a woman. One photo sat beneath them. John, standing in front of a Christmas tree, holding a toddler. Next to him, the woman from the funeral. Emily's breath caught. Her vision swam. The date on the photo, December 2019. John had told her he was in Denver for a corporate finance summit that Christmas. She and Sophie had gone to her parents' cabin in Vermont. He had mailed them presents. Called twice a day. But he was with them. She dug deeper. Birth certificates, love letters, even a small gold bracelet engraved with the name Caleb. John had told her once that if they had a son, he liked that name. He had already used it. There were also several airline stubs: Atlanta, Savannah, Tallahassee. Always to and from cities in Georgia. Always for 3 or 4 days. How long had this gone on? Was it just during trips? Or had it been real? The sticky note had said, he kept everything.
No.
Not everything. He had deleted messages, hid receipts, lied for years. Emily's hand shook as she picked up a letter dated April 2023. It was addressed to Emily Carson, but the envelope was never sealed. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Dear Emily, if you're reading this, I've either grown brave or something happened before I had the chance. There's no easy way to explain this. No version of it where I look like a decent man. I've been living 2 lives. Not because I didn't love you. I did. I do. But somewhere along the line, I made a mistake, and then another, and then I couldn't undo it without losing everything. I didn't plan for Max, or Caleb, or Melissa, but they're real. And I've been lying to everyone. I wanted to tell you for so long, but I was terrified of breaking you, of breaking her. I was planning to end it, truly, to come clean. I hope, somehow, you can forgive me, or at least understand.
John.
Emily dropped the letter as if it burned.
Her ears rang.
Her heart pounded so loudly it felt like a drumbeat in her skull. She stumbled out of the office and into the kitchen, gasping. She had to tell someone. Rachel. Yes, Rachel would know what to do. She grabbed her phone, scrolled through recent messages. But something caught her attention. A text from John, dated last month, buried deep in a long thread. John, if she finds out before I tell her, it's over. I'll lose both of them. Please don't say anything. The message wasn't sent to Emily. It was a reply. She clicked details. Recipient, Rachel Miller. Her hands went cold. John was talking to Rachel. She called her. Voicemail. She called again. Straight to voicemail. Then a text came in. Rachel. Emily, please. I didn't want you to find out this way.
We need to talk.
Tomorrow morning. My house. Emily dropped the phone and whispered to no one. Oh my God, you knew. Emily didn't sleep that night. She lay on the couch, curled under an old knit blanket, the cedar box sitting like a coffin on the coffee table in front of her. Her eyes stayed fixed on it, as though if she stared hard enough, she'd wake up and discover it was all some cruel dream. But reality had shifted. John had a second family, and her best friend had known. The sky outside slowly faded from navy to gray, then to a hazy pink, but it brought no peace. Only dread. At 7:01 a.m., she slipped into jeans and a hoodie, tied her hair into a messy knot, and headed toward Rachel's house. The roads were quiet, but her thoughts weren't. A million questions spiraled through her head like a storm. How long did Rachel know?
Why didn't she tell me?
Were they in on it together? Were there more lies? Her hands trembled on the steering wheel. She parked across the street from Rachel's 2-story brick home. The porch light was still on, casting a sickly glow over the steps. Emily sat in the car for a full minute, staring at the house. Then, she walked to the door and rang the bell. Rachel answered almost instantly, as if she had been waiting just behind it. Her face was pale, makeup-free, eyes rimmed with red. Emily, she said softly. Come in. Emily stepped inside, fists clenched at her sides. Rachel gestured to the living room, but Emily refused to sit. You knew, she said, voice low and deadly. How long? Rachel closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them with effort. 2 years. Emily staggered back a step. 2 years?
You looked me in the eye.
You held Sophie's hand at John's funeral. God, you lied to my face. I didn't know everything at first, Rachel pleaded. He told me he was trying to end it, that it was complicated, that he didn't want to hurt Sophie or you. He begged me not to tell you. So, you protected him? Emily's voice cracked, sharp and venomous. You chose him over me? I didn't choose anyone, Rachel snapped back. I was stuck in the middle. I tried to stay neutral. There's no such thing as neutral when someone you love is being betrayed. Emily's hands shook now, and her eyes burned. You were supposed to be my friend, Rachel. My sister, practically. And you watched me live a lie. Rachel looked stricken. I'm sorry. Emily turned to leave. You don't understand, Rachel blurted out. There's more. Melissa, the other woman, she reached out to me. She thought John was married to her. Emily froze. What? She whispered. Rachel nodded miserably.
She thought you were the affair.
He was telling her the same story. That he had a complicated past. That he was working long hours to make ends meet. That he had a daughter. Yes, but that he wasn't in a relationship with a mother anymore. Emily sat down slowly, her legs giving out beneath her. The room felt like it was spinning. So she didn't know either? She asked. Not until 4 months ago, Rachel admitted. She found a bank statement with your address.
She reached out to me.
We talked. She was shattered. Emily laughed bitterly. You all had a whole goddamn support group, and I was just what? A happy idiot living in a sitcom? Rachel flinched. He was planning to come clean, I think that's what the letter was for. I think he really wanted to fix it. Fix it? Emily stood again, seething. This isn't a leaky faucet, Rachel. This is my life. Sophie's life. And he tore it apart for years. That's not a fix, it's a demolition. Rachel stayed silent. Emily turned to leave, but Rachel added, Melissa wants to talk to you. Emily froze again. I gave her your number, Rachel said quietly. She said she needs to explain. There's something she has. Something you need to see. Emily didn't reply. She drove straight to a gas station off the highway and sat in the parking lot. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. Unknown number. Melissa. Emily, I'm so sorry.
Can we meet?
Today? I have something John never wanted you to see. I think it's time you knew the full truth. Emily stared at the message, her reflection visible in the windshield. Her eyes looked sunken. Older. Harder. She texted back. Where? 2 hours later, she was sitting across from Melissa Davenport at a small corner table in a downtown cafe. Melissa was tall, with dark hair and intelligent brown eyes. Her fingers twisted a napkin repeatedly as she spoke. I'm not here to defend him, Melissa said, voice tight. I hate him. I loved him. But I hate him. He ruined us both. Emily nodded once. Melissa pulled a worn leather notebook from her purse and set it gently on the table. He kept this hidden in our attic, she said. I found it last week. I thought you should have it. Emily opened the first page. It was John's handwriting.
Neat.
Unmistakable. Journal entry. March 7th, 2013. I thought I could do it, love 2 people without destroying them. I know it's wrong. I know one day it'll explode. But for now, I get to have both. Is that so bad? Every word was a knife. There were dozens of entries, chronicling lies, near misses, twisted justifications, flights back and forth, emotional breakdowns, panic attacks. And at the end, July 1st, 2023, Melissa found the address. She confronted me. I lied again. I panicked. But I think this is it. The end of the line. I don't think I'll survive this truth. Emily closed the notebook slowly. Melissa looked down. Did he kill himself? Emily swallowed hard.
No.
Heart attack.
Sudden.
Or maybe not. Maybe he was already dying inside. They sat in silence. Then Melissa said, he told me once that if something ever happened to him, I should look for a blue envelope. Do you know what that means? Emily's heart skipped. No, but I have a feeling I will. Emily stood in the attic of her house, the single dusty bulb above casting weak light across half-forgotten boxes and the eerie stillness of insulation-covered wood. A blue envelope. She had combed every drawer, every folder, every hidden pocket of John's life, but she hadn't checked here. Not until Melissa's words echoed so loudly she couldn't ignore them anymore. And there it was. Nestled behind an old Christmas decoration box marked Sophie, Kindergarten 2015. A blue envelope. Unmarked.
Sealed.
Emily's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter. A real one this time. No copy. No official will. Just ink and regret on thick cream paper. Emily, if you're reading this, then either I didn't make it in time, or I lost the courage I swore I'd find. There's no excuse for what I've done. No justification that will make you feel better. But I want you to know I wasn't always this man. I didn't set out to lie or cheat or destroy 2 lives. It happened slowly, like rot spreading under the floorboards. Melissa wasn't a mistake. Neither were you. You both were home. In different ways. And I was too much of a coward to leave either house. I watched Sophie grow, loved every moment, but knew that every hug, every bedtime story came at a cost I couldn't bear to pay. I knew it would end. I just hoped it would be me who paid for it, not you. Not her.
Not Sophie.
Please protect her from this, Emily. Let her believe in the man who tucked her in. She didn't lie. I did. Forgive me if you can. Hate me if you must.
John.
Emily sat down on the attic floor, the paper slipping from her fingers like ash. Forgive him? She didn't even know where to place her feelings. A rage had been building inside her for days, but now it met something worse, an unbearable weight of sorrow. She had lost John.
Twice.
First to a lie, then to death. And now Sophie had lost everything. By evening, she hadn't eaten. She hadn't spoken to anyone. The house was silent except for the gentle tick of the clock on the wall. Until the knock. She opened the door to find Melissa again. No invitation necessary this time. The look in her eyes said it all. Can I come in? Melissa asked. Emily stepped aside. They sat at the kitchen table, the same one where Emily had once planned birthday parties and Christmas dinners. Now it felt like a tribunal bench. Melissa pulled out a flash drive. I debated whether to bring this, she said. But I thought you deserved to see the last part. Emily didn't respond. She just plugged the drive into her laptop. There was one file. To both of you, John.mp4. She clicked. John appeared on screen, seated in his office chair. He looked tired, older than she remembered. His eyes were red-rimmed. Melissa. Emily. I don't deserve either of you. But this is the truth. All of it. If you're seeing this, then I didn't make it. And that's probably the fairest end for me. I had 2 families, and I tried to be a good man in both. But the truth is, I failed. I've been seeing a therapist. I've been trying to piece together why I did what I did. And I keep coming back to fear. Fear of loss. Fear of being alone. Fear that if I chose one, I'd destroy the other. And so I destroyed everything instead. I need you both to know I loved you. I love Sophie. More than life. More than breath. And I hope you can find it in your hearts to raise her without the hate I sowed between you. Tell her I was complicated. But I never stopped loving her. Or either of you. I'm sorry. The screen went black. Melissa sat silently across the table. She had tears in her eyes, but no words. Emily finally spoke. You should meet her, she said softly. Melissa blinked. What? Sophie. You should meet her, Emily repeated. Not today. Maybe not this week. But soon. You have a right to know her. And she'll need answers someday. Melissa nodded, stunned. I won't lie to her, Emily added. But I'll wait until she asks. Until she's ready. Not because he asked, but because she deserves the truth on her terms. Silence. Then Melissa stood. Thank you, she whispered. I never thought you'd even speak to me again. Emily didn't smile. But she nodded. After Melissa left, Emily sat in Sophie's room. Her daughter was sleeping, curled under the same pink blanket she'd had since age 5. How do you tell a child their father lived a double life? You don't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But you stay. You protect. You love harder. Emily brushed a strand of hair from Sophie's face and whispered, You were always the only thing he got right. Then she stood and turned off the light. As she closed the door, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror across the hallway. Older. Stronger. Different. But not broken. Not anymore. The days that followed blurred together like watercolor left in the rain, colors bleeding into one another, nothing with a clear edge, only emotion and movement. Emily kept herself busy with routine. She made breakfast every morning, ironed Sophie's school clothes, returned emails, kept up with PTA meetings. Outwardly, everything looked normal again. But inwardly, nothing was the same. Each room in the house now held echoes of a man she no longer truly knew. His toothbrush in the master bathroom, his running shoes by the door, his scent on the inside of his coat, still hanging on the hallway rack. And yet, there was no anger anymore. Not exactly. It had transformed into something else, a deep, almost aching resolve. She couldn't unlive the last 10 years, couldn't rewrite the grief that had scorched her soul, but she could make sure that Sophie lived free of the shadows that John had left behind. One evening, as she packed up old boxes from the attic, ready at last to throw some of it out, she found Sophie sitting quietly in the corner of the living room, flipping through an old family photo album. John's smile stared up at them from nearly every page. "Mom," Sophie said, not looking up. Emily paused. "Yes, sweetie? Why did Aunt Melissa cry at Dad's funeral?" Emily froze. This was the moment. She sat beside her daughter and gently pulled the album onto her lap. "That's a really good question." Sophie blinked at her with those same green eyes John had passed on. She and Dad were very close. And sometimes, when people we love die, all the pieces of their life come to the surface. Some of it surprises us. Some of it hurts. But it doesn't erase the parts we remember. Sophie tilted her head. Was she his friend? Emily nodded slowly. She was someone he knew for a long time. Someone important to him. Sophie paused. So, she misses him too. Yeah, Emily whispered. She does. That was all Sophie needed for now. She turned back to the photos, pointing at a picture from the beach. This was my favorite trip. Remember that crab that chased Dad? Emily laughed. He screamed louder than you did. Sophie giggled, and the tension evaporated for now. Later that night, Emily sat on the back porch, nursing a cup of tea as cool spring air brushed against her skin. The stars were out, silent witnesses to every human mess made beneath them. Her phone buzzed beside her. A message from Melissa. "I'd like to send something for Sophie. Just a letter. No pressure. No meeting yet. Just my words. When you think she's ready." Emily stared at it for a long moment, then typed back. "That would be okay. Thank you."
She hit send.
Healing wouldn't come in one wave. It would come in moments, quiet, unremarkable ones like this. A choice to answer instead of ignore. A willingness to leave space for complexity. A refusal to carry a legacy of lies forward. A week later, Emily visited John's grave again. Alone this time. She didn't bring flowers. She brought the letter. And burned it. She watched the edges curl into black, the words he had written rising in smoke. Forgiveness wasn't always a gift you gave the dead. Sometimes it was a key you turned for yourself. After the letter had turned to ash, she whispered, "Goodbye, John. For real this time." Then she turned and walked away. 6 months later, Emily and Melissa sat across from each other at a cafe, neutral territory. Sophie wasn't there.
This was just for them.
Melissa handed over a small envelope. "She can open it whenever. Or not. I won't push." Emily nodded. "She's been asking about you. She knows you're someone special to her dad. That's enough for now." They sat in silence for a while. Then Melissa said, "He told me you were the strong one." Emily gave a wry smile. "He never really saw me." "Maybe not," Melissa said. "But I do now." It wasn't a friendship. Not yet. Maybe never. But it was mutual understanding. And that, Emily realized, was something close to peace. Later that night, Emily tucked Sophie in and handed her the letter. "It's from someone who cared about your dad." Sophie looked curious, but didn't open it. "Can I read it tomorrow?" "Of course," Emily said, kissing her forehead. "Whenever you're ready." That night, Emily didn't dream of John. She dreamed of oceans, of blank pages, of doors quietly closing behind her, and windows opening to a new dawn. This wasn't the life she planned, but it was hers now. Fully hers. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough.